Hello Stampers, this is Susan Malloy of Silver Lady Stamping, and I am also an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator. Thank you for joining me today. Today's project, I want to show you how to make this DIY photo album using the Stampin' Up! Clear envelopes and your favorite designer series paper. Now, this is a project that I actually have cased from Connie Stewart of Simply Simple Stamping. It's a project that she did back in 2019 using the designer series paper that was current at that time. So I liked it so much I decided I wanted to make one, and this is actually my second one. I made one a couple of years ago, and I decided with the Christmas season and people taking photos and wanting to save their Christmas or holiday photos, I wanted to make one of these. And so I used a little bit of a Christmas theme with the bough of Christmas leaves and some Christmas lights and a Christmas sentiment or seasonal sentiment. And then the Expressions in Ink designer series paper at the bottom, which is not Christmassy but can be. And then some Just Jade cardstock. Today's photo album, I'm going to use mostly Expressions in Ink designer series paper, and I'm going to use Rich Razzleberry cardstock for the base. So let me get started, and I'll show you what it's going to look like. So what you want to do is you want to decide which designer series paper you want to use, and you know, like I said, I'm using Expressions in Ink, but you can use whichever one you want, whether if it's a theme-based one that has the cats and dogs on it, or you want to do one that's sort of a seasonal, Christmassy, or just something that is not seasonal at all. But this is such a pretty paper, and it has so many different colorations in it. I decided I wanted to use this because I've been so caught up in the Christmas frenzy that I wanted to use something that was not so Christmassy. So what you'll do is you'll take one of the 12 by 12 sheets of your designer series paper, and you're gonna cut 6 pieces into 5 7/8 by 12, and then you'll end up with a sheet that is more like this, right? So then from there you're going to cut it down further into strips of 4 3/8 by 5 7/8, and then that's going to give you a couple of sheets each of this size paper, right? Double-sided paper, obviously. And then you're going to have some extra leftover pieces, and which you're going to cut down as well. But I want you to also cut one remaining piece at 1 3/4 by 5. And that's going to be out of your extra pieces. That's going to be this piece, and that's going to go on the bottom. That will be the designer series paper on the bottom. So that's what that piece is for. Okay, so now for the base of the album, you're going to take, in this case, Rich Razzleberry, and it's cut at 4 3/4 by 9. And it's scored at 7/8 and 1 3/4. And then you also want to cut a strip of also Rich Razzleberry. You want to cut a small strip that is 1/4 inch by 5. And again, that's going to go across this piece right here. You could also, depending on your designer series paper, we have the gold foil paper. So if you wanted to do as I did here, cut the gold foil instead and put that on, you certainly can, for a little, so that it looks a little bit different. Then you're going to cut a piece of Night of Navy, and the Night of Navy is going to be cut at 4 3/4 by 6 1/4. And then you'll cut a piece of basic white at 4 1/4 by 5. Now, for the design, the die cut design at the top, I used the Ornate Layers dies, and in those dies you get like 2 different kinds of dies. You get 2 packs, and on this, the rectangle dies, right, the one right in the middle is what I used to die cut the design. I just thought it was kind of pretty. Now, you don't have to do that. That's completely optional. If you have a stamp that has, you know, a decorative stamp, you could just stamp across the top instead, whatever your preference is. But I just thought the die cut looked kind of pretty. So now let's start. I'll show you how to assemble this. And the way that we're going to put this together is using the clear envelopes that come in the catalog, the annual catalog. And I took this piece of Designer Series paper out just to show you, but I'm going to tuck it right back in. All right, so the way we're going to begin putting together the pages of the photo album is you're going to take, you know, the backs of each one has a little peel off strip with some adhesive on the back. So you'll do that, and then you'll take one of the other ones, the front, not the part that has the adhesive on the back of it. You'll take the adhesive part and put it right up against the front of the other one. And you'll line them up together, line it up, and then just press it down so the adhesive adheres to the other envelope. Okay, then you'll take the adhesive off of the other one, and again, you will put it against the front of the next one and press it down. And you're going to keep doing that until you have them all done. Okay, so we'll line it up and press it. This is a really good project for, you know, if you want to make some inexpensive, like, Christmas gifts for people. Everybody's always looking for a photo album. Now look, I know that most of us are now putting our photos, you know, and you know, we have them, you know, in digital copies of our photos, and I'm no exception. I have a ton of photos in my computer files. However, you know, I do still have a box of regular photos that I do like to pull out every now and again. I mean, you know, sometimes just looking at your photos on your computer just doesn't cut it. And if you have guests over and family, let's say family, you have a bunch of family photos, and maybe those photos are ones that they haven't really seen or haven't seen for a long time. Well, you know, you're not going to all gather around your computer and look at all the digital photos. It's just kind of nice to have a photo album to pull out and show some photos. So this is just kind of a nice idea. Plus, you know, you can give these photo albums to friends and family as a Christmas gift or a birthday gift, or even to someone who might be, say, graduating from, you know, high school or college, and they can put their graduation photos in them, and it's kind of nice. Or let's say they're going on an adventure, like someone's going on a really nice trip. Well, they can put their photos in the when they come back, they can print out their photos and put them in their little photo album. There's just so much that you can do with it. Okay, so now you have it all done, right? And then you have one last one. The one last one that has the strip. And here's what you're going to do with that. Now that you have them all lined up, you want to peel off that bottom one, and then you want to line it up with the first score line, and as best you can, because I have to say mine didn't line up 100%, but you're going to line it up and you're going to just press it down. Right? Oop. There you go. Right? So it's nicely in there. All right, so we're going to put a cover on this, but then the other thing is that you you want to make sure that it's going to stay in place and not, the pages are not going to fall out. So I'm using my crocodile that I still haven't 100% figured out how to use. Just wanted to let you know that. But I'm going to take this and I am going to put my crocodile punch about up to, well, you can't really see, but I'm going to put it up to the score line and punch a hole, because trying to do this with a regular hole punch isn't going to work. I tried it. It's just too thick. So I'm going to do a second hole. Okay. All right. So there are my two holes. And then from there, I want to cut a piece of ribbon and weave it through from the back. And this is going to help hold it in place, and then you're sure that it's not going to come apart. Okay. So I'm not sure exactly how much I'm going to need. I'm probably going to cut way more than I need. I'll just save whatever extra I don't use. And I'll save it for another project. Okay. And then we'll just turn it this way. And I'm going to tie a ribbon, a bow rather. Okay. There we go. And yes, I used way more ribbon than I needed. Okay, I'll set that aside. Okay. All right. So now what we can do is take our Night of Navy, and you notice that we have this flap right here, right? And this flap is there because obviously we want to be able to open our book and have it lay flat. So you need a little extra flap. But we're going to put this cover on, and we're going to just glue it onto this flap right here. So I am going to I'm going to use some. Actually, no, you know what? I think I'm going to use some liquid glue. I gotta open a new one. And I'm going to put the glue on this side. inside, which I didn't mean to do. Okay. There we go. All right, and now we're going to glue down the white layer. And see how with the die cut you have the blue that shows through, so it looks really, I think it looks really nice. And then we'll take our piece that is 1 3/4 by 5 inches and glue that on the bottom. And it's just going to line up right at the bottom. Okay, and this is where you would put your strip, your little tiny extra strip of 1/4 by 5. Okay, so the question is, do I like that better, or do I like the gold strip better? Personally, I like the gold, so that's the one I'm going to go with. I don't get to use the gold foil paper as much as I would like. For no particular reason, just that I never really make stuff that has a lot of gold in it. Oh, take that off. So I'm going to use this little piece. Now I probably should have stamped on it before I put this together. That would have made sense, right? But I didn't. What I did do was pull out my stamp set that says Pretty Pumpkins. And I don't really have any stamp sets that have sentiments that are good for just, you know, a general, like, oh, you know, photos or something. There's all kinds of sentiments that you could put on it as if you were giving it to someone. But I decided this gather together sentiment would be good because that's what the photos are going to show. They're going to show people gathering together. And so that's the one I'm going to use, and I'm going to use some Rich Razzleberry ink. And with any luck, and if the gods are smiling on me, I'll get this stamped without making too much of a mess. Oh, look at it, it came out pretty good. Now, if it had not come out very good, what I would have done is that I would have stamped just a strip of, you know, white cardstock, or, and then maybe backed it with some gold foil, and I would have just, you know, cut it out and attached it as a tag. So even if you make a boo-boo on your stamping, if if you're doing it like me, where you maybe should have done it before you glued it down, there's always a way to fix it. So this is the finished product, right? So look at how pretty. And one of the other things that you could do, this is also an idea of Connie's that I thought was a great idea. You could put pieces of white cardstock cut out smaller, and then so that you could write something in it next to the photo, like a description of what was going on in the photo, and you could turn it into sort of a photo journal, right? So that there's not just photos but stories along with it. And then each page, if your photos are smaller, and they'll be framed with the designer series paper. How nice is that looking? Isn't that pretty? I love it. So I hope you enjoyed today's video. I really appreciate it, and I hope that you will tune in on Friday when I have another video for you. Thank you for watching.